All right, welcome you guys. Welcome. I'm so excited to go through this with you guys today. Hope you're having an amazing day. We are going to go through the guide for women who are doing everything right and are still stuck. I'm going to share with you why you're stuck and why things like eating clean and counting and exercise and supplements and all the things that you've tried are not enough, right? And I know you've been doing all the right things. You've tried even for years. Most of my clients have. They've done everything. They're doing everything right, but yet the body's not responding. I'm going to explain to you in this training why that happens and what you can do about it. You got to understand why it's actually going on, because it's no longer, especially after 35, 40 years old, it's no longer about calories. It's no longer about just cutting back and exercising more and whatever else. Sure, those things can help to some degree, but it only goes so far when the body is stuck, when things are not going to respond. And there's some key reasons why. Okay, now if you don't know who I am, my name is Jared McDonald. I'm the founder and creator of the Metabolism Reboot Program, where I've helped over 2,000 women over the age of 35 on average lose 20 to 35 pounds of fat in 6 weeks and reboot their metabolism and learn to keep it off so they can still enjoy desserts and treats and snacks and travel and all the fun things. And again, we work mostly with business owners, mostly with career women, mostly with people who are stressed and who have a life, who have run a household that they have demands, all these things that build up stress. And that's partly why they're stuck. Okay. And if you're like many of them, you've tried things like trainers and keto and Whole30 or paleo, labs were done. You did supplement protocols. You did the macro plans. You even tried doing the shake programs, and maybe even tried or thought about GLP-1s, right? And maybe you don't want to go that route. But now a lot of women that I work with who are intelligent and their research, they do their research, they're smart, they work hard. They're taking a little bit more of a balanced approach right now, where they're training 3 to 5 days a week. They're getting their 7,000 to 10,000 steps. You're getting your protein, right? Adding cottage cheese to everything. You're wearing your weighted vests. You're managing your sleep, but yet you're still not losing weight. And of course, life isn't perfect, but I know so many women that are like, I'm doing this perfectly. And that's what social media tells me to do right now, but their body's still stuck. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. And even if you haven't done this or any of these, that's fine too. These are the same things your body's stuck after 40. They're all the same reasons. It's just that these things don't work because weight gain isn't the problem. Okay. And I pause for emphasis there. Weight gain is not the problem. We look at it totally different. Weight gain is a symptom. Okay. And we're going to break down 4 reasons why you're stuck, and then we'll go through what to do about it. Right. So there's actually 4 things you have to understand about your body now, as well as a woman who's aging, a woman who's got a career and is stressed most of her life, right? The last 20 years or whatever. And all of those things kind of pile up. Okay. So weight gain is a symptom of stress. So is your low energy, your joint pain, your brain fog, your poor sleep, and more. I literally just talked to a woman who's like, man, I'm 43. My brain fog is I don't know if I'm 83 or 43, right? That's just symptoms. The body is telling you things. Now, you've built the business and career, but what's happened is it's taken its toll over the years. It's piled up over years. Now, sometimes there's a big stressor too, right? Sometimes it's you move, you get a new job, you get divorced or whatever, death of a loved one, and all of a sudden, your body just flips this switch, and stress makes this adaptation happen where you store fat. Instead of burning fat, it feels the need to store it. It's really not broken or slowed down even due to age. It just feels the need to survive. Fat really is a survival mechanism. That's what it's there for. It's not a calories problem. And even if you eat too many calories, what's your body trying to do with all those extra calories? Store them for later when it thinks it's going to need them. It's all survival. And when we look at it that way differently, we can stop fighting our bodies so much and trying to kill them in the gym or starve them to lose weight and actually help them feel safe. Okay. So that's the first thing you have to understand, is it's a symptom of stress. Now, it's not just emotional stress. There's chemicals and dieting too much and exercising too hard. All the things that you've been trying to do actually can backfire, right? And we'll talk about that a little bit too. Now, the second thing you have to understand is that your metabolism, along with your cortisol and all the things that you hear about, is controlled by what's called your master metabolism control center. This is essentially the technical term, your hypothalamus pituitary adrenal thyroid ovarian axis, or often just referred to as the HPA. That's the acronym. And what this is, so that your hypothalamus sends signals to your pituitary gland, which then sends signals to your adrenals, which regulate your cortisol, inflammation, blood sugars, your thyroid, which regulates your thyroid hormones and metabolism, and your ovaries, which are all your reproductive hormones, right? And the point is to stay alive. Literally when you're running from a tiger, your cortisol spikes because it's supposed to send sugar to the brain. It kicks in inflammation to fight infection, right? Blood sugars go up to send sugar to the brain and give your body all the energy it it needs to run, right? Thyroid says, hey, let's slow the metabolism down and store energy a bit so we can get out of here. Ovaries will kick in and say, hey, let's shut down reproduction. Your digestion even shuts down. Like all of these things to try to keep you alive. The problem is when these things happen chronically and the tiger never goes away, it piles up. And now these things get majorly out of balance. So that's where you start to store fat in your face, your neck, the back of your arms, your hips, your belly, your thighs. All of that is cortisol and hormone related. The low energy, the brain fog, the poor digestion and the bloating, the poor sleep, the joint pain, those are all because your cells, your metabolism, your blood sugars, your insulin, all of those things are out of balance now. And so they start as small symptoms like, hey, a little bit of fat here, a little bit of brain fog there, and then it turns into big problems down the road where you're getting diagnosed and all the labs are worse and whatever else. And a lot of you who've gotten labs done, you're like, hey, none of my labs were off. So is my cortisol fine? Not necessarily. You can have things like insulin resistance happening 10 years before it ever shows up on a lab, but you'll have symptoms of it. And that's the problem with labs is they're showing you kind of an end result that it's gotten bad enough to call it something, right? And again, exercising more and eating less equals more running from a tiger and famine. Your brain's just saying, am I running here with not enough food? Like, it doesn't work. So even though you think you're doing something good, and yes, you can see some short-term results. You can definitely force it, but your body feels stressed from it, which then tells the metabolism to slow down more, you plateau, and then you gain it back. Okay. And that's part of the problem. And just, cutting out processed foods and things can help, but sometimes the body is so out of balance and this whole system is out of balance and stuck. That flip has switched and it still stays stuck. And that's why eating clean that can oftentimes help address things like blood sugars and whatever else isn't enough either, right? Now, here's the other thing that also comes into play that you may not know. And this is something that's not super common, actually. There's a hierarchy to your hormones. There's different tiers of hormones. So estrogen, so if you were to go to like a doctor, a functional doctor, and they'd be like, oh, your estrogen's off. Let's do HRT, or let's do the patch. Let's do this or that. Or let's take a supplement that'll help with that. Well, if your estrogen's off, that's not the question you should be asking. Estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, melatonin, and thyroid hormones, these are all basically dependent on if your tier 1 hormones are in balance. These are the foundational hormones. So that stress, right, of the insulin and the cortisol spiking from you feeling stressed, if these are out of balance, guess what? They're going to send signals to your estrogen and your ovaries to keep you alive. So that's where infertility and reproduction are going to be like, hey, it's the worst time to have a baby. Worst time to have a baby and try to have a baby is when you're running from a tiger. Like you die, right? So it shuts all that down. It doesn't need it right now to survive. So when your cortisol's high and your insulin's high, your estrogen is going to be out of balance too. So if you're just trying to balance estrogen, it doesn't matter. You got to balance the insulin and the cortisol. Now, if you're just trying to balance cortisol by taking an adrenal supplement, fine, but you got to remember, you got to balance the entire HPA axis for the adrenals to be in balance. And that's a huge thing that people miss. That's why they're stuck. Major reason why they're stuck. Okay. Here's the third thing. Now this goes into particularly for women over 35, very specifically, is estrogen is going to help maintain muscle, balance inflammation, blood sugars, etc. So as estrogen changes now in your late 30s and 40s, you're going to get less muscle. You're going to lose up to 10% of your muscle at the onset. You're going to get more inflammation. It's going to hit your body differently now. You're going to have more insulin resistant because you just lost all your muscle, and your sleep's going to get off. Your digestion's going to get off. And what happens is all those imbalances that were going on from years of stress now get worse. And so, yeah, you're going to have more problems. You're going to gain some weight, but it's going to be harder to lose it the next time, right? Because all of this stuff is now worse off, right? Now, here's a note on functional medicine. If you've tried it, if you haven't, it's a good approach, but here's the downside is it does try to address root imbalances, but often it doesn't address the HPA axis as a whole, and it doesn't actually get your body into a fat burning state. They just hope that as a byproduct of addressing the imbalances that you'll lose weight. And it doesn't happen that way. Very, very commonly, it doesn't happen that way. Okay. And the other thing that they miss is number 4. And you've probably missed this as well. There's a thing called your set point. A set point is kind of a natural homeostasis that maintains your weight. And it's like a thermostat for your house, right? It's just for your body. And it's based on how safe it feels. So if you're constantly starving your body and killing yourself in the gym and eating 1,200 calories, trying to work out harder and build some muscle all at the same time, like it's going to say, hey, I don't feel safe, i.e. let's keep storing or store fat for the first time. And that's why women stay stuck and they're like, I've changed all my diets, I've changed all these things, it doesn't work, right? Now you can force it again through cutting calories and exercise, but if it doesn't like it, it's going to plateau, it's going to gain it all back because you stressed it out, it's going to come back harder. you're going to gain more back. And that's going to go back to that set point. Your body doesn't feel safe, so it comes back to where it was before and or higher because it didn't feel safe. Now, because of all of these four things, you've got slowed and adapted metabolism as a recap. You've got imbalances, specifically with insulin. Most of the time, insulin resistance is a big problem, even if it's not showing up on a lab. You've got inflammation that's getting stored through your liver as fat, and your hormones are out of balance, and particularly cortisol, like I said, insulin, and then that sends signals to your estrogen. And you've got a body that doesn't feel safe losing fat, and it resists the fat loss. You literally become weight loss resistant because your brain is saying, no, I'm not losing weight. I'm storing it because I've got to survive. That's literally what it's trying to do. Okay. So here's what you have to do. Here's what we do in our metabolism reboot process that has helped women in this exact situation who are stuck, having tried for sometimes 2 decades, 3 decades to try to lose weight. They're literally in their 50s and 60s now, and they cannot lose weight at all. And they lose 20 to 35 pounds on average. 90% lose at least 20 pounds. Our average is 24 and a half. We'll even guarantee you'll lose 10 to 20 pounds of your money back. That's why we know this works so well, because we are addressing why your body's stuck. These are the reasons stuck. The reasons your body is stuck. So we're now going to get it unstuck. Okay. Remember, these are the problems. We've got a slowed and adapted metabolism. We've got imbalances we've got to address, and a body that needs to feel safe. So these are why we created steps and a process. It's not just, give you a macro plan and try to make you work out more. No. Your body doesn't feel safe. We have to help it feel safe. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is get your metabolism unstuck. We have to prime it. Now you have to remember that your body will feel safe to store fat. We have to help it feel not safe, or we have to help it feel safe releasing the fat now, right? And cutting calories and more exercise actually slows the metabolism down more because of all of this. And that's why you plateau. And then you regain it. So the solution is you got to wake up or prime your metabolism so that your body feels safe again. Now we're going to utilize a principle called adaptive thermogenics. When your body increases your metabolic rate due to increased caloric intake. So when you increase your calories, your metabolism increases, right? Now, if you decrease, it slows down. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the right foods, pro-metabolic foods, to increase your calories and signal that your brain feels safe. We're going to tell this HPA axis that it doesn't need to hold on to fat anymore. It can release it. And then when we get into step 2, we actually start burning the fat. This is a preparatory state that says, hey, we're going to prep the body, and now the body can release the fat that it's been holding on to for survival. Okay, so you have to do that first. Now, if you just eat willy-nilly and any kind of food, just more of it, you may actually just gain weight from this. If you do it for too long, you may gain weight from this. So we have a strategic approach with this, but generally speaking, most of you are under-eating, which is biggest problem as overeating. Okay. And some of you have taken that approach. Well, I had a trainer that made me eat like 2,500 calories a day and I just gained weight. Well, yeah, because you're out of balance. You didn't get it back in check. We do this for a short period of time with the right foods. Then we move into step 2 where we actually reset and we're going to heal. So this is the first step though you have to do. Now from here, step 2 is you have to reset that control center, that hypothalamus, and then you got to heal and release fat. So remember that stress equals a metabolism control center that stores fat, and there's internal imbalances from years of stress. So you're really trying to do 2 things at once: reset the control center and heal the imbalances, right? And particularly you're looking at things like the stress hormones, the tier 1 hormones, right? And inflammation and a few other things. Cortisol's got to be balanced. And it's not that cortisol's got to be high or low, or that the problem is that it's higher or low. It's got to be balanced because you have higher and lower cortisol all day long. It's just got to be balanced. Imbalanced blood sugars and insulin resistance are a huge problem, especially as perimenopause sets in, or if you're in menopause. Chronic inflammation is a very huge problem. It's been related and connected to every chronic disease. And toxins will actually disrupt your hormones as well as your cells. So you become more insulin resistant due to toxic exposure. And then digestion's a big one. These are the big 5, we call them. You have to address these things in order for it to become unstuck, and all of which are going to continue to store fat if they're not addressed, right? So here's the solution again, is that we've got to heal these imbalances. So we're going to release fat. We're going to skyrocket your energy. Your brain fog is going to lift. Your sleep's going to improve, and inflammation is going to go down. So you don't have any joints. You don't feel so creaky and achy and poppy and all the things, right? And this is all going to happen as you heal the imbalances. And you're going to start to feel like yourself, and your body's going to start matching who you actually are because your body's more in balance now. Your energy comes up. You're going to feel like you can show up in the world the way you want. Right? So you've got to lower the inflammation. You've got to get the blood sugars and the cortisol, and you got to detox the liver. These are the key things. Okay. Now in general, I mean, these are how we'll do it, but we have a very specific protocol for this, but you've got to focus on quality over quantity. So real food is going to help balance the blood sugars and lower inflammation, but you still got to create the right deficit. You've got to get your body into the right amount of deficit. Too much, too little, isn't going to work. So there's a certain kind of range of calories, and with the right kinds of foods, it'll heal the body without stressing it out and without losing your muscle. So that's super important. Then you're going to focus on restorative movement rather than intense exercise. This is not forever, but we just got to tell your brain you're not running from a tiger anymore. Because if you're just hitting the gym 3, 4, 5 days a week still, and you're trying to lose fat, but your body's out of balance, well, good luck. It's not going to work. You have to take a break from the intensity and do more restorative movement. That's going to be super key as well. And you got to support key functions in your body with vitamins and minerals. So food does most of the heavy lifting for us, but we do need to help support it oftentimes with a little bit of blood sugar support, cortisol support, proper hydration, which is really key. You can have high cortisol just from being dehydrated. Your HPA axis needs support, and you got to detox a bit. And then things like GLP-1 and medications, they don't work long-term because they just get you to eat less. High caffeine doesn't work long-term either. Like, these things don't work because they're trying to get you to eat less, and that's it, without addressing these things. Now, you can get some benefit from like blood sugar perspective from GLP-1s, but they're going to stress your body out in other ways because you're just not eating enough food, right? So that's why those don't work as well. So again, these are the key things we're doing in this phase, and we're healing those imbalances and helping support that HPA axis, right? That's going to be super, super key. Now, most people during this process will lose 20 to 35 pounds with us when we do this. But again, I mean, because you don't have the protocol if you're doing this on your own, these are the key things that if you do this, you'll still see some progress, right? And then what you have to do after about 6 weeks is you've got to create a new set point for your body. Most people miss this. They just try to lose weight for weeks and months, and then that creates a slower metabolism, more stress, muscle loss even. Then you're going to plateau and you're going to gain it back because you push too hard for too long. 6 weeks is about as long as you should go on trying to release fat. Okay. And then you move into creating a set point for your body, which is that natural homeostasis. And you're helping your body essentially feel safe. And what you can do during this is, or essentially how you're doing this is that you're taking a break from the weight loss. You're increasing your calories with the right ones. You're not just willy-nilly eating whatever. You got to get the right calories coming in, and you're increasing the amounts and the types of food you're eating. And then eventually we'll add in the treats and the snacks and all that stuff back in as well. And you also got to build muscle during this phase. This phase is all about progressive low overload strength training for women over 40, which is different than when you're younger than 40. It changes. You can't do it the same way. Can't be as hardcore F45, Orange Theory, CrossFit, whatever. It's going to stress your body out too much. But you can build muscle very effectively after 40. You just have to focus at it at the right time. And then you got to stabilize the weight, right? So we're doing 3 things essentially. One is we're taking a break from weight loss and increasing our food, building some muscle and stabilizing the weight so that it feels safe. And then from there, let's say you drop 20, 30 pounds in the first 6 weeks of doing this and you stabilize during this time, then you can repeat the cycle and you just go back through. And so you're losing fat, building muscle, losing fat, building muscle. And that creates that recomp. And you can do this as many times as you need to till you reach your goals. But if you don't do this in cycles, you're going to stress your metabolism out, lose your muscle, and gain the weight back. It's going to cause more stress. So you've got to do it in cycles. And this is how 2,000 women have addressed their imbalances, drop that 20 to 35 pounds in 6 weeks on average, and they can repeat that to the point where I'll show you a few women who've done this in the different cycles they've done to where you can lose 40, 50, 60, even 80, 100 pounds in a matter of months, right? Which is really cool. So I'll show you a few women who've done this and kind of the way that they did it. So Ashley, I'm going to make sure this is all formatted. This got out of balance here. Ashley was a business owner, super stressed, high performer, tried literally everything, was working out super hard, lost 28 pounds in 6 weeks, one cycle of the process. Christy, who, if I can get this to come back up here, Christy lost, I'll just show you this picture here. Christy lost 20 pounds in 6 weeks. Again, had kids and going through a ton of stress. Her husband had a ton of health issues. She's a business owner. Again, 20 pounds in 6 weeks. Very holistic minded already. Danny, also business owner, kids, stressed, worked out a ton, doing all the supplements, all the things, lost 27 pounds in 6 weeks, right? Courtney did 2 cycles of our program. She lost 45 pounds in 5 months, or just under 50 pounds. Perimenopause got the best of her. She was always active, always like conscious, health conscious of, holistic approaches, natural food, real food, but again, struggled. So she lost 5 pounds in 2 cycles, which took 45 pounds in about 5 months, which took about 2 cycles. Carrie lost 50 pounds in 2 cycles, which is about 5 months. Carrie, again, was a business owner. She's in her mid 50s, had some insulin resistance happening, tried like every shake program, tried trainers, tried like doctors, tried meds, all the things, and nothing seemed to work for her. And then again, 5 months, lost 50 pounds. Denise high performing executive, HR director, traveled like once a month for work and also about once a month for pleasure. So during this 5 months we worked with her, she was traveling half the month at least, lost 67 pounds in 5 months. And then Haldana, young kids, tried a million things. She lost 52 pounds in 5 months. Here's someone who did 3 cycles. So Amber lost 130 pounds in 8 months with us. So she did 3 cycles of the program. And this was also during a time where she got divorced. She changed jobs. She moved. She's got kids, like just again, a lot going on. Whoops. And she lost 130 pounds in 8 months during 3 cycles. Casey lost 100 pounds in about 9 months during 4 cycles. Casey is a business owner, is a makeup artist, traveled pretty much half the month as well during this entire 9 months. And again, you can see major difference there for her. So just to show you a few, I mean, I've got videos and testimonials and interviews we've done with all these people and hundreds more, but just want to show you how it works with a few people, because each of these people, like just take even Amber or Casey, who lost the most amount of weight out of these examples here, or Denise or whoever, they didn't exercise for the first 6 weeks, or they were doing more restorative movement. And then they took a break from weight loss for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever it might have been for each person. And then they cycled back through it. And even with doing that, they still lost this amount of weight. They lost 100 pounds in 9 months, taking a break every 6 weeks. Isn't that crazy? You can lose more weight faster by cycling it this way. And you can actually lose the weight. Otherwise, you end up plateauing. You can actually lose weight by cycling it. So that's how you can do this. Just repeat these 3 steps over and over and over again until you actually reach your goals. And that way you're recomping. I just had another woman. I didn't put her up here, but her name is Jamie. She lost 50 pounds and she tracked all of her muscle tone and gained 5 pounds of muscle and like 2 pounds of bone while losing 50 pounds in 5 months doing 2 cycles. So that's how you can see those cool, results that way. So hopefully this helps. Hopefully this is making sense for you guys. You can let me know in the comments below if this is making sense with these 3 steps. If you're looking at this going, okay, well, how do I actually do this? Like I get the ideas and you want the details, or to even just see how, like, where you're stuck, where are these things out of balance up here? We schedule free metabolism assessments. You can actually schedule a call with me. I'll put the link below, or you can reach out directly to me. But there's a link below that'll take you through and kind of talk you a little bit more about our process and how to schedule. And we just schedule about 45 minutes. That way we can go through any questions you have, make sure we understand what's keeping you stuck, and design a plan for you. Whether that's with us or without us, that's fine. We'll help you figure out what you need to do to reach your goals. And that way you're not stuck anymore, right? But these 3 things are going to be super key, I found, for women over 40, over 35, really, that make all the difference in doing it in phases and cycles and addressing the actual problem rather than, again, weight is not the problem. Weight gain is the symptom. So hopefully this helps. Go check out the link, go schedule your metabolism assessment, and excited to help you figure out how to reach your goals.